Hey there folks, how you doing today? Welcome back to the channel. Please bear with any background racket that you might hear throughout this production. We are on location where life happens. And sometimes there's stuff going on right out there that interferes with what we're trying to do in here. Also, there's a fan going in the corner. You might hear that, as well as sometimes it causes a little bit of a feedback issue with the microphone. This is actually the third time I filmed this today. The last one was pretty good content-wise, as good as it gets around here. But there was a autofocus or video stabilization feature on my camera that was acting up, and the whole thing was in and out like this. I couldn't bear to let you watch that. So why are you here, you might be wondering? What is this stuff on the counter? Why do I have all these lubricants and cleaners sitting out here on my desk? Well, I'm glad you asked, folks. This is a bottle of Professor Pugh CLP. We'll go over the specs on it here in just a minute, but why is it sitting on my desk? Well, recently I was contacted by the folks over at Professor Pugh, and they asked me if I would be interested in reviewing the product here on this channel for you folks, and to their benefit as well. So I said, sure, why not? So folks, I did not purchase this. They sent it to me free gratis. However, that's where the deal ended. I was not compensated in any way, shape, or form for the work that we're doing with this product. Get my book out here. I'm going to read to you. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can read along. What is Professor Pugh CLP? Well, Professor Pugh CLP is a plant-based, I believe it said somewhere in there, it's soybean, gun cleaner that revolutionizes firearm maintenance through environmentally friendly and sustainable ingredients. By harnessing the power of natural non-toxic compounds, Professor Pugh CLP effectively cleans, lubricates, and protects firearms without compromising on performance. It is easy to use, ensuring hassle-free application, and it is available at professorpugh.com. All right, to the YouTube moderator that just watched that, all they sell over there is this cleaner. That's it. So, moving right along. For those of you that are not familiar with what a CLP is, well, a CLP literally just stands for Cleaner Lubricant Protectant. Anybody that watched any of these videos knows that I prefer a CLP when I'm cleaning guns. There are many of you that prefer to use a separate solvent and lubricant when you're doing your guns. Hey, you do you, boo. I don't care. I've also been chastised for some of the stuff I've done related to cleaning guns, saying that's not the right way to do it. You're going to destroy the finish. To date, folks, I've never destroyed anything that I regretted doing it the way I do. So again, as I said, to each their own. So what is it about this new CLP that is so great that we needed it? Well, I'm glad you asked. For reference here, I've got a bottle of Gunzilla, which says right on the label, it is the world's the world's best CLP. And to its credit, Gunzilla is a fantastic product. I actually purchased that about 20 years ago, if you can believe that. Still good, still have a little bit of it there. As well as there are other CLPs. I've got this Cleansoil CLP, which has been my new go-to for the past couple of years. Prior to that, I used to use a product called Break Free. Break Free CLP was really good, but I found that the Cleansoil left less residue behind after I cleaned my guns. So again, why do we need another CLP? Well, reach in your pocket, folks, take your cell phone out and look at it. If your cell phone is more than a couple of years old, then you might have a valid argument against this, but suffice it to say, there are technological advancements that come along. There are new products that come along that might be a little better than something that we had before. So before you get your panties in a bunch over what I just said, know that I'm not saying this is necessarily any better than some of the other offerings that we have available. What I'm asking is it good? Well, we're fixing to find out. So I decided when I got a hold of this that the first thing I was going to do was go into my box in there, my safe, my little room where I keep this stuff, and drag out the dirtiest, nastiest firearm that I owned, which happened to be this 1911 in.45 ACP that you see sitting right here in front of us. I can't stop looking at it. I love this gun. I've won competitions with this gun before. This gun was so bad, folks. It was filthy, junked, plugged up, full of lead bullet residue, liquid Alox residue, bullseye For those of you that are familiar with reloading products, Bullseye is not the cleanest powder to reload with. The gun was gunked up real bad. I'm going to put the segment where I clean the gun in right here. If you don't want to watch that, folks, just fast forward until you see me sitting here in this shirt again. So we have our disassembled 1911 here. I disassembled it off camera to keep YouTube from pitching a fit about it, even though that falls within what you can do on their terms of and conditions. But I'm ashamed to show this to you. Look how gunked up and dirty the inside of this 1911 is. That is all Alox bullet lube, I think. And there's a ton of it in there. So this should be a very good candidate to test Professor Pugh's ability to remove crap from inside of a firearm. All right, so now we'll begin our cleaning portion for the 1911. I can't even get the barrel link all the way forward. It is so dirty. Oh my goodness. Give me a second. Let me get some of the crap out of here. It is a wonder this thing was still running, but it's also a testament to its durability. Alright, so we got our match grade Ed Brown barrel here. Is completely caked in cast bullet lube. So I'm going to go ahead and spray a liberal dosing of Professor Pugh all over that and let it sit and dissolve for a minute. I'm going to do the same thing with the inside of the slide. And while those soak, I'm going to start working on the frame here. Just going to take a regular old second-hand paper towel. Oh, look at that. That's first wipe right there. We took out a bunch of gunk. I'm probably going to need to go get another paper towel because this thing was filthy. Alright, so you saw there, I was actually ashamed to show you how really dirty that 45 was, but the Professor Pugh CLP cleaned it up really good, and under normal circumstances I probably would have taken some non-chlorinated brake cleaner or something else and hosed it out to help it along, but I wanted to see if we could get it completely clean with this, and we did, and it didn't take that long. So now that we know that Professor Pugh CLP will in fact clean up a dirty gun, what else is it that we need to worry about when we're dealing with a CLP product? Well, aside from cleaning and lubricant, we need to know how is this product going to protect my gun from corrosion, rust, the nastiness that happens. This is especially important for a firearm that you either hunt with or something that you carry on your person for personal protection. This is we're north of Houston, we're in the eastern part of Texas. It is incredibly hot here. Even though we've been in a drought, it is still humid. I perspire anytime I go outside. That being said, I am nearly always armed when legally able to do so. And I get my guns sweaty. So I am very concerned with protecting my guns from things like, you know, salty body sweat, body perspiration that has oil and acids in it that can deteriorate a firearm's finish. Now, some of the newer guns, getting back to stuff that has made advancements in the past few years, Some of the newer guns, like the SIG P365 that is my normal daily carry, have Cerakote finishes on them. They've got polymer frames. So corrosion on those guns isn't nearly what it was on some guns in the past, guns like this. But it's still an issue. I still take my daily carry, regardless of which one it is, apart on a regular basis, clean it, lubricate it, and protect it. So with that being said, while not a perfect test medium, I did set up with a piece of I-beam that I had laying around here, a small surface where we could clean and prep a bare piece of hardened steel and test it for corrosion resistance with a variety of products. Now, some of these products are dedicated firearm CLPs, others are just lubricants, and others are just non-firearm lubricants. So I tested all of these products. We had Gunzilla, Professor Pugh, Cleanse Oil, Walmart SuperTech lubricant, that's like the store brand WD-40, the CRC heavy silicone, rim oil. There's two different types of rim oil there, but it's the same product. This Outers gun oil, which is an old school product, Hoppy's gun oil, as well as WD-40 Specialist. All of these products have claims that say that they prevent rust, and we're going to put that to the test here in just a minute. So again, we're going to cut away from this portion of the video so that you can see some other content that shows how we went about that, and then we'll come back and talk about it in a minute. So here we have our piece of steel with all of the scale removed. I scrubbed it up with WD-40 and then degreased it with non-chlorinated brake parts cleaner. All right, so I am starting to sweat now, and that is important to what we're doing here. More on that later. Okay, I'll show you a close-up of this, but real quick, we've got our test samples marked out here. WD-40, Hoppy's, Professor Pugh, rim oil, Gunzilla, SuperTech lube from Walmart, CRC silicone. We're going to do a bare metal test there, Outers, and Cleanse Oil CLP. So I've got some little pieces of Q-tip cut here. I'm going to apply the lubricant to each one of these with a Q-tip so there's no chance of overspray, and then we'll move on to the corrosion testing. Earlier that I'm all sweaty, and that is important. I sweat profusely. I sweat a lot. So when I apply a lubricant to my firearm, a protectant, I need it to combat that sweat. So what I have here, now that we have our test sample marked down there, I was going to use this one, but this is actually one of my nicer t-shirts, so I went and got the one I was wearing yesterday. And I'll show you here. This is my Gunman 66 t-shirt that I tore one of the sleeves on a chore, and so it became a sleeveless model, but you can see there on the back how wet and sweaty this t-shirt is. And I'm going to just apply that to the test surface there, which should provide a realistic test of what my body perspiration will do to those surfaces. And I'm going to leave it on there for a while, and we'll come back and see if there's any discernible difference between the different test swaths. So stay tuned. Now bear with me, folks. I took the best pictures I could with the equipment that I have at my disposal to do this with, and I'll show you what the patches of treated metal look like, as well as the baseline that we made for comparison after we treated it with all of these and then soaked it with a wet, sweaty t-shirt all day. Now certainly the bare section of metal that we did not treat with a rust preventative had the most surface rust. And I'd like to express the caveat that this was not a new piece of steel. This was a heavily pitted piece of steel to begin with. And I think maybe a little bit of the rust that you see on here was just stuff that was right under the surface that kind of came up when we were doing this. And take it with a grain of salt. This was not a scientific test. Basically just an object lesson so we could see how these products compared against each other. So that being said, the only products that we tested that I would say didn't do a good job, at least in the limited confines of what we had, were the CRC silicone and the Walmart SuperTech lubricant. Those two really kind of did poorly. They showed a lot of pitting. The WD-40 did a little better. The Hoppies oil actually did pretty good. The Outers oil did pretty good. And all of the CLPs did pretty good. I would say if there was one product that did better than everything else, it was probably the Gunzilla. But again, as I said, this was not a true double-blind test. We literally tested one little piece of metal on an old piece of steel stock that it was not the most scientific of conditions, so I would have to do more testing before I cast complete judgment. But I said all that to say this: how did the Professor Pugh hold up to the other products? I would say a good close second to Gunzilla, and arguably as good as anything else that we treated that metal with. So what do we have here? We have a fairly new to the market CLP that's made in America, that's non-toxic. If that's important to you folks, I handle chemicals all day long. Actually kind of glad to know while I was handling this that there wasn't anything in it that was going to make me grow a third knee. Also, as I mentioned, I did clean this firearm with it, and I will tell you that while there is a little bit of visible residue on the outside of it, I probably should give it one more wipe down. It's not greasy, it's not oily, it's not slippery like some firearm lubricants will leave a weapon, so it has that going for it. So now the question remains, is Professor Pugh the right CLP for you? Well, only you can decide for that, but if you did pick it, I would say that you probably made a good choice. Is it the right CLP for me? Would I be buying more of this when I run out? I would say, yeah, I would give the folks up there in Michigan my business for what I believe is a quality product. If you've tried this product, if you have any experience with it, I'd like to hear in the comments down below. And until next time, folks, take care. God bless.